He's fought even longer and harder for the country that he loves. Change has come to America.
Kenya celebrated a great leader this year, Barack Hussein Obama, son of a Kenyan, now the most powerful leader in the world, President of the United States of America. But he is not our leader. In Kenya, we are complaining of a leadership crisis. So I want to find out where we are going wrong. What's wrong with our leaders? Wondering why people are so hopeful and why they are so excited. And what is it about? Is it about identity, that because he can trace his roots here? Or is it about the kind of inspiration and leadership that Obama promises? What does this example of leadership mean to Kenyans? I started in Kogelo, where Obama's family comes from. In Kogelo, people believe Obama will bring something, but they're not quite sure what. Hata Kenya ataleta mabadiliko.
Kenya atapata kitu kidogo kwa nyuma.
Just up the road from Kogelo, and we're in Kisumu, the capital of Western Kenya. Traumatized last year by Kenya's worst crisis of leadership since independence. Over 1,000 people were killed in a post-election crisis when both the incumbent, Mwai Kibaki, and his opponent, Raila Odinga, claimed victory. There was a violent standoff, a vacuum of leadership. Much of Kenya was affected. Over 300,000 people displaced by the fighting. Then, after 2 months of intense peace efforts led by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, a coalition government was formed. President Kibaki and Prime Minister Odinga signed on the dotted line.
There's nothing which...
A year on, where are we? You're not happy with the coalition?
I am not happy.
Are you disappointed?
This budget is disappointing.
Okay.
Like me, I think I'll never vote again.
Why?
Yeah.
Me as Fifi watch, I'll never vote because if I vote for peace, I get something else.
The thing we need now, our MPs must take right now.
Kisumu, on the shores of Lake Victoria, is the hometown of Raila Odinga. Hopes were high when he became Prime Minister. People here felt at last their man had a decent share of power. What has he brought to his people? I talked to Ishmael Noor, a trade union leader.
First of all, the issue of coalition government, you know very well, it was just meant to address a crisis. And it was done so hurriedly and to a point where a lot of things were ignored and not taken into consideration. I think the way Kenyans have been looking at the presidency as something that can bring solutions to your problem is the way they also looked at that issue of the coalition. Yeah, so those who saw the Prime Minister thought that there is now something very good in it. But the reality is now coming down. And people are realizing those things are not trickling down. This is where the problem is now coming. There's a lot of disillusionment now. Yeah. So it still boils down to the way Kenyans look at the leadership. Yeah.
This region, like many others in the country, votes as a bloc.
Yeah. If the leadership is morally and ethically right, then the country will just be right. But if the leadership find it expedient at any given opportunity to just use the card that is
the ethnic card.
That is, the ethnic card. When they think they need it, then we will never change anything.
Why that hold? Why is it that a leader can decide I'll use this card and we follow? What is wrong with us? Is it us as the people who are we that hopeless? Are we that devoid of hope and character that if Ishmael is the leader of this area, he says jump in the lake, I jump?
Yeah.
That seems to be such a crucial equation in Kenya now. The idea that you vote as an ethnic bloc, and if your leader gets in that seat, your life improves. So let's see if that's true. I decided to go to the constituency of President Mwai Kibaki. Udhaya, in Central Province, has voted President Kibaki in since 1974. Change has come to Udhaya, but on a very basic level. Yet, these are changes all Kenyans are entitled to. It takes almost absolute power before you start seeing things like roads and basic things like roads and water being provided. And historically, what we've seen is that it's when the president comes from a certain area that you see the roads being built. Now, it's not often for the people. It's really often, in my view, for the leader himself. So when he comes around, at least he doesn't have to trudge along in mud and dust. Let's follow the road up into the tea-growing farms. We can take a look at the president's rural home and see who's around to talk to.
Alileta maendeleo kubwa sana hapa. Kwa sababu hii barabara hii unaiona hapo kama umepita hii center hii. Nasikia sasa nataka kuweka malam. Watu walikuwa naumianga sana.
Okay.
Sasa pia ametuletea stima na maji pia kilimo. Si ndio?
Very good.
Amefanya mzuri sana. Naona hata afadhali sasa aendelee.
We heard some very different opinions here.
Si ndio?
In that sense, we certainly have come a long way since the one-party state. And I found that where the road ends, so do the compliments.
Vile nyinyi mnaona mambo ya uongozi hapa Udhaya ama Kenya yote vile mnaona.
Mimi tuseme hapa kwetu Udhaya. Kwanza mbunge wetu. Sisi tunasemagi tuliko na mbunge kwa sababu hakujagi hapa. Ukiangalia kasi kama ya barabara haifanyi, wanasema barabara inatengenezwa haitengenezwi. Sisi tunasema 2012 tukibadilisha tuone mabadilisho mazuri.
Lakini kikuuliza kwa sababu sisi tumeenda sana nchi yetu ya Kenya. Tumeona Udhaya town, barabara za Udhaya town. Hakuna sio town mingi iko na barabara kama hiyo hapa Kenya. Na hiyo ni
kwenda mbele.
Mwenda mbele sana.
Hapo hakuna kwenda mbele.
Hapo hakuna kwenda mbele juu ya barabara. Lazima tunaangalia kila pahali, kila mambo yote muhimu ya kibinadamu. Lazima tunaangalia. Sasa kutengeneza barabara sio hoja. Hoja ni uangalie sehemu zote, sekta zote za kama hapa Udhaya ama serikali ama hapa nchini yetu. Tunaangalia, tunaona kama ni chakula sasa tuseme. Watu hawana chakula kusema kweli. Shida imejaa. Serikali iko.
Kenyans complain of the same thing all over the country. The need for jobs, health, education. And they want to be more confident of a future. Everyone seems to be looking for real leadership.
So how do we get good leaders? What should we do? What should we do differently?
Now, in fact, because we have seen the picture and we have seen those people we elected in parliament, so next time that come to 2012 is to elect the young Turks.
But what does it mean? Look, in the parliament today, they are young people. In fact, I think this is the youngest parliament we have ever had. Very young people. They're the ones at the front line refusing to pay taxes, saying that why should we pay? Because we pay taxes, we'll be like as poor as our constituents. There'll be no difference between me and my constituents. So how do we move forward?
As the citizens of Kenya, we must show them the way. We must show them that we are the bosses by forcing them to pay their tax.
And on the wall here is a mural, and you see 3 images, one representing Kofi Annan there. This is supposed to be Mwai Kibaki, and this is Raila Odinga, within the face of Kenya. This is supposed to show it's supposed to represent the peaceful accord that was made between Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga, and also show the sense of peace and joint sharing of leadership. The question we've got to ask then, though, is was that coalition made for sharing leadership for the political class alone, or was it to the benefit of the Kenyan people?
So we feel our leaders are not good to us, but we are very good to our leaders. Kenyans are tolerant, forgiving, almost to a fault. We need to know more about our leaders.
We have tried to see him. Very difficult to access him, but very easy to see him. His picture is everywhere in this country.
So let's see what we can find out here. We'll start with President Jomo Kenyatta, the founding father of the nation.
Here is Kenyatta. Here's a good picture of Jomo Kenyatta. And really this is where it all started to go wrong. Because this is the person who first personalized power, centralized it, not only in his office, but really within himself. So the whole mythology of leadership and the whole idea of pomp and pageantry and the outriders on the motorcycles and all that whole element started here with the Smart. Anyway, so Jomo Kenyatta dies and Daniel Moi becomes the president. And Daniel Moi is interesting because he served for 24 years. He's the longest serving president in this country.
You can find former President Moi in church every Sunday. He now lives in Kabarak, about 2 hours out of Nairobi. Moi conceded to President Kibaki in 2003 after ruling with an iron hand for 24 years. He is Kenya's longest serving president. Under his one-party state, Moi told us we all had to sing the same tune, his tune, and if we didn't, the consequences were harsh. Torture chambers, state-sponsored clashes, assassinations, fear, nepotism. I remember the thirst for change. Moi reluctantly accepted multi-partyism in 1991 under a great deal of pressure.
I wanted to ask you a question, sir. I'm wondering what you think about the leadership in the country today, sir.
Coalition, grand coalition cannot work. But if you have decisions made through different directions, people will get lost and confusion arise.
Right, for it. It seems that the difficulty we're having is that our leaders are not hearing the people properly. And it, I'm not
the people themselves, they resisted. People in 1991 resisted. They didn't want many parties because they valued their unity. And others felt that because Moi or others were dictators. We were not dictators.
Do you feel do you have any regrets about your time in when you were president?
No, I have no regrets.
Do you take any responsibility for any of the crises we have got today? Do you feel any responsibility?
Well, I help because I love Kenyans.
I decided to take a trip to Baringo, Moi's constituency. What has he left behind? At the height of his rule, this place was thriving. Monuments to the Nyayo era, Moi's name wherever you look. Everyone used to come here to get something, money, power, an envelope full of cash. Moi used to stay at Kabarak Hotel, now run down, empty when I arrived. I looked for the room where he used to stay, the presidential suite, and found it guarded by Jackson Chelimo.
It's helpful to have a president from your village, from your area.
Yeah, it is helpful.
The area becomes more developed, more people have more to do. So it's very useful.
Even though he's not willing to assist both of us, all of us,
it's good to have.
It is good to have somebody who is.
So how do we do this now in a country of more than 50 ethnic groups? How do we have a president from each group so that the area can benefit? How long will this take?
That one nategemea. It depends. Because hatuwezi kusema sisi wote tutakuwa na hiyo kitu.
Hatuwezi. Sasa vile nauliza, so how do we then, we as Kenyans, because what you said, Moi akiwa hapa, when Moi was president, you benefited in this area. People say that Othaya has benefited in Kibaki's time. Now, how long will it take for the Somali to benefit?
That one.
How long will it take for the El Molo to benefit? Or even the Ogiek to benefit?
It will take actually ages.
Yeah. So until they get a president, they can't benefit.
They can benefit, but it cannot be now like Nini.
In the same way as Oraya or Cabernet. You have to go slower. So that is the problem we have. So isn't it? The problem is that the presidency is too powerful, and you become president and you bring everything to your area. That's why people are going to die and kill each other to become president, isn't it? That's dangerous, isn't it? Because now if you don't become president, then you don't get anything. So you'll kill people.
No, you cannot.
One of the saddest things about the election crisis is that it's damaged people's confidence, not just in voting and the politicians, but in safety, basic protection. Even now, 1 year later, people affected by the post-election violence say they do not feel safe. Do we have any confidence left in our security forces? Burnt forest near Eldoret, one of the epicenters of the violence. I arrived to find a group of people had just been bulldozed out of their tents. They had been homeless since the crisis. Over 300,000 people were displaced by the election violence. Some have the confidence to return home. Others, like Patrick, still prefer to live in town. I offered to take Patrick back to his farm, about 10 kilometers away.
So Patrick, yes. How do you feel about being back?
Hey, I feel good to see our farm again.
First time in a year?
First time in a year.
Yeah.
After for a whole year, I have not yet stepped to this place.
Was it because of fear or time?
It was because of fear.
Yeah.
And because I feared to come to this place and be clobbered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel protected by Kibaki?
No, I felt not protected by the Kibaki.
You didn't feel there was enough police presence here?
There were not enough police here.
And that therefore he failed in his duty?
One thing.
To provide security?
That's sure.
That is a paramount duty?
That is the best and the most paramount, that we should be secure in our country. And all the people living in Kenya should be secure.
On his way back, Patrick wanted to greet his neighbors to make sure there are no tensions remaining. It's basically been left to individuals like this and local groups to try and make peace. I wanted to talk to one of our coalition leaders. In Nairobi, I tagged along on the Prime Minister's motorcade and got a brief taste of what it's like at the top. Prime Minister Raila Odinga is the more accessible of the two. He agreed to an interview.
It seems, if talking to different people across the country at very local levels, that perhaps we have not begun solving the problems that led to the crisis, but rather postponed those problems. What do you think about that?
I don't think that we have postponed solving those problems. We have been slow in resolving them. In other words, the pace has been slow. But I think that this is by and large because of the opposition nature, coalition nature. Mm-hmm. Coalitions don't move as fast as if they were single-party regimes, because there's need for too much consultations on the sides. That is the reason why the pace has been slow.
When are we going to get a culture where when somebody is responsible for an institution and it fails, that if they can't resign, then they're fired? There's no tenure for the Commissioner of Police. Why hasn't this coalition government dismissed the commissioner?
During that crisis, you had the ODM supporters who were on the streets demonstrating against the fraud. Then you had on the PNU side, the actors who were basically policemen who were dealing with our demonstrators and who actually issued the order of shoot to kill. Therefore, the other side will find it very difficult to support the idea of dismissal of the police commissioner, because we are dealing with a coalition government.
One of the things we kept hearing across the country was a lot of anger on the issue of taxation of MPs. You're on record saying that MPs should be taxed. Why is it not possible, for example, for you and the president to sit together and make a decision?
You can pay tax yourself as a charity. Because there's no provision for you to pay more than what you're paying. You get it right.
There's nothing to stop you from paying taxes.
In that regard, even these corporations can pay more than they're actually paying.
Absolutely.
But they're not paying it.
Yeah.
Because there's no law, no provision to pay it. So what we are talking about is we don't want just MPs to put money which goes into an escrow account in form of taxes. You want this to be legal.
You know, all of us, and I think when we enter out in the field, what we get is people crying for hope somewhere. Where do we find it?
You see, they say that Rome was never built in a day. We are in the process of doing again a new constitution. They see that there's a lot of determination this time around to give Kenyans a new constitution. If we can get a new constitution in under this coalition government, we will have made a very big achievement.
I think I need to go to Parliament, the heart of this problem, and see for myself what's going on there.
This is Parliament, where the people's representatives, so-called, work and do their work of representing us. So it's an old Parliament building. We have 222 members of Parliament, some who are nominated, but we are going to see if we can talk to some of them. Why are we not allowed inside there? Why are we not allowed in there?
We are not in a bad faith, but in a good faith.
Yeah, you know, but you know, since we are all, things about the press, since we are trying to make it all open and transparent, it's surprising you don't want to allow us in there.
Tomorrow we'll answer that for you.
You can't answer?
No, I can't.
Okay. As you see, we're not allowed into some of the places with cameras. They have very strict rules.
Today, Parliament is debating the scandal of the disappearing maize.
We've been waiting now for about 3 hours for the parliamentarians to finish their debate, where they're debating a motion of censure against the Minister for Agriculture at this time.
While we were waiting for the outcome, I managed to talk to Richard Onyonka, Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs, who had slipped out for a break.
We have been around the country and we get a lot of Kenyans expressing grave disappointment with the members of Parliament, with the political leadership. Why do you think, why are you not hearing it as MPs?
This is the problem we have in this country, that very many people who maybe were seeking political office for other reasons other than wanting to give public service and wanting to change the country and making sure that the poor people in this country can actually be uplifted from where they are right now. And right now, very many Kenyans are poor, and very many Kenyans who are poor are becoming very angry. When you have leadership which is not answerable to the people who voted for them, then that leadership is bankrupt. We don't have any moral authority now to discuss issues of corruption, because what is happening right now is that we're either driving ourselves into our tribal cocoons, whereby certain individuals, even without looking at the moral and the political issues and the legal issues of a matter that is affecting a given minister or given person, we then say our tribe is being finished. And that is how Kenya has operated for a long time. And I think we need to change that.
The food which is there is too expensive. So how do I keep quiet?
So MP Boni Khalwale failed in his motion, but at least put the issue in the spotlight.
Okay.
William Ruto survives. Although in some countries, someone in his position would automatically resign. That's part of leadership, to be able to say, yes, I'm sorry, Kenyans are starving. It happened on my watch, and I will take responsibility. Our political leaders are a great disappointment to us. But that doesn't mean we don't have great leaders in Kenya. People with discipline, vision, generosity, and transparency. I found one that inspired me. Kipchoge Keino, the Olympic gold medalist. He teaches children, looks after orphans, and runs an international training school, among many other things.
Yes.
And you ask yourself, what have you done to your community?
Yeah.
Eh?
For society.
Ask yourself, what have you contributed to this
positively
for this country?
Yeah.
Eh? And this is what we want today.
Right.
We want to change this country to be a better country.
Right.
We want to live in peace.
Yes.
We want to share. We want to work together. We want to improve the standard of this country.
Yeah.
We want to change this country to be a better country. And we are proud.
Very good.
As a country.
Yes.
I'm proud to be a Kenyan.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And so am I.
And,
I'm not from Eldoret, but I'm very proud of
We
it.
want the Kenyan to change.
Yes.
That
Yes.
we unless we sweat,
Yeah.
unless we work,
Yeah.
and unless we sit down
Yeah.
as a community and plan,
Yeah.
we cannot go anywhere.
So we are a long, long way from getting our Obama moment. But that doesn't mean we can't have it one day. We too can change.
Oh,